Hey guys, what's up? I'm here with a review of a supernatural horror film from 1988 from the director of Cannibal Ferox, which I absolutely hated. You gotta see my review to understand why. But, but this movie is called Ghost House, aka La Casa 3, aka Evil Dead 3. I will explain all those titles in a minute. So these people decide to stay in this haunted house that's haunted by a little girl and her creepy clown doll, and they kill whoever enters the house. That's the basic plot of the film. I'm not gonna lie, that sounds pretty awesome. And the film starts out with the little girl being left alone in the dark with her clown doll as punishment for something, and then mirrors and light bulbs bending and inflating and exploding onto people, and then people getting killed. So it starts off pretty damn good. Then we skip ahead 20 years to a couple in Boston who receive a radio call from a deserted house in the middle of nowhere. On the way there, they pick up a hitchhiker, and then he scared them and robbed them before they dropped them off. And once they get to the house, they see that people are actually vacationing there, and some stuff happens. A severed head in a washing machine, glass jars expanding like balloons and exploding. Yeah. More stuff happens. Characters in the film are very similar to those in Evil Dead. There's one that's really whiny and is like, "You guys never believe me," similar to Ash's sister in Evil Dead. And after we get all this whininess, then we finally see this little girl and her creepy clown doll. And then at 31 minutes, someone finally dies. And this is the third death we see in the film, which I'm going to say, for the first 30 minutes of a film, that's not a lot, but it's a pretty good number. That's one every 10 minutes. So, suddenly, they're not just dealing with one ghost. They're dealing with a little girl ghost, her clown doll, a ghost dog, and a deranged hillbilly. Then it's the next day, and the police are in the house investigating a murder that happened the previous night. And then we finally get the backstory to the house and the little girl, and as it turns out, she was actually left in the basement alone, and she died of starvation. And then some research is done, and it turns out that the girl's father was a mortician. Then the hitchhiker from earlier in the film shows up at the house and decides to stay the night. He's black. This is a horror film. Spoiler alert, he died. And then we get more backstory on the little girl and the doll. Then a bludgeoning over the head with a hammer, a decapitation, which is pretty cool. And the film ends with an unexpected, somewhat well, not really unexpected, kind of expected anticlimactic ending. Somewhat anticlimactic ending, I must say. And I can't really say that I didn't see this ending coming, because I did see it coming from a mile away. So in Italy, when The Evil Dead was released, it was released under the title La Casa. The sequel was released under La Casa 2. These two films were followed by 3 unofficial sequels, and I will be reviewing them most likely. La Casa 3, which I'm reviewing right now, La Casa 4, and La Casa 5. All under different actual names when they released in America. So yeah. And when I saw the house in this film, I immediately thought to myself, man, that looks really familiar. And then I realized it's the same house from House by the Cemetery, the Fulci film. And I did some research, and actually, yes, it is the same exact house they used in House by the Cemetery. So that's kind of cool, considering the Fulci and the director of this movie were both Italian directors. The effects in this movie were pretty good, and the dubbing was really bad. I mean, it's not extremely bad. It's not as bad as the dubbing in Men Behind the Sun, and that dubbing is probably some of the worst I've ever heard. But it's pretty bad. And while watching this film, speaking of Fulci, this film reminded me of his Gates of Hell trilogy, those being City of the Living Dead, The Beyond, and House by the Cemetery. Mostly House by the Cemetery because it was the same house, and it was about some kind of haunting in the house and stuff like that. So yeah. Honestly, it's a pretty creepy movie. I'm not gonna lie, I did get creeped out a few times while watching it. And I would definitely suggest this to fans of Italian horror films. Anybody who's a fan of the Gates of Hell trilogy definitely should check this out. And especially anybody who's a supernatural film fan should check this out. It's just really fun to watch. I mean, it's funny, it's bad, it's a B movie, it's violent, it's creepy, it's a really good flick. And while I can't say it lives up to the immortal name that Evil Dead holds to me and to a lot of other horror fans, I can say that this film knows how to take the same basic plot of Evil Dead, people in a house and demons or ghosts or whatever are killing them, and they take it, throw a monkey wrench into it, and add a little girl and a clown doll, and somehow that makes it more intriguing. It's weird how shit like that works. Now, at a minimum, actually, before I get into rating this film, the gore meter. 1 being something like The Corpse Grinders, and 10 being something like Brain Dead. This film is at least a 5. At the max, a 5. At the minimum, a 4. It's not that bad. I mean, it's not as bad as, like, City of the Living Dead. Which, I mean, honestly, that film isn't even that bad. I mean, there are only a few scenes in that are kind of gory. But, I mean, this movie, there's like 2 or 3 scenes I can think of that I honestly think were pretty gory. And, yeah. But, I would definitely give this film a 4 out of 5. At the minimum, at the bare minimum, 4 out of 5. At maximum, maybe a 5. It was really fun to watch. I enjoyed it, and I wish there was an American DVD release of it. I may have to get one of the DVD-R copies off of Amazon or something like that. But I would definitely suggest this movie to horror film fans. Definitely one you should check out. And it's actually available to watch on YouTube. So yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm BiscuitBoo69 signing off. Peace.